For most people, the biggest barrier to selling vintage online is the shipping. Now, I did a full shipping tutorial earlier this year. I linked it down below, so that's a really great place to start. But many of you guys asked for a part 2 where I'm showing you how I ship large scale art and small furniture pieces. So today, instead of just shipping pieces out from my Etsy shop, I decided to show you how I packed this piece of art and this magazine rack. So before we get started, all the tools that I use daily to do my shipping are linked down below in the description box. Okay, so let's get packing. So welcome to my packing station. So this is probably one of the biggest pieces and heaviest pieces of art I will have shipped. Thankfully, I have a box that fits this. I don't have to make a box. So it pays to save boxes. So I'll show you that box in a minute. So I'm going to put painter's tape because this is glass. So I'm going to put painter's tape across this area. So that way, if it was to shatter in transit, the tape will kind of keep a lot of the glass intact rather than have it go everywhere. So it's just like a layer of protection, so I always do that. Then I'm going to be putting this piece of cardboard that was cut down on top. And then I will start to bubble wrap the entire thing in a protective layer. I may put even more cardboard on it because this piece of art that needs to go as well. And this little piece of art here that needs to go. So the box is big, so I'm trying to decide if I put these other pieces in there as well because they're not super heavy, and this is actually pretty sturdy, and I can put foam and stuff between because there's a lot of room in the box. So yeah, but this is how I generally do artwork. Is I showed you guys this when I did my video on how I pack. I usually, if it has glass, I put the painter's tape. I always put a protective layer of cardboard down. And if this wasn't glass and this was an actual picture, I would probably put a layer of clean paper. Not this paper, but the just like newsprint paper. So I would start with that on top. And then I would put the cardboard on top of that. And then I would bubble it all around, tape it all together, and it would be a sandwich. And if this was a canvas, I would put a protective hard cardboard shell on the back as well, but this is painted, or not painted, this is mounted to board, and so I don't need to do that. So this is already sturdy in and of itself. So this was not too bad, but it's big. So shipping artwork is really not a big deal. It's just a matter of layering and then just having the right box. Shipping artwork, I would say it's a hassle because of the layers, but it's not complicated to get shipped. Now this piece right here, I got to build a box for, and that is a bit nightmarish, and we'll go through that process. So this piece of art needs to also go in the package because it's huge and I don't want to ship it in its own box. So this is how the end piece turned out. You can see the cardboard underneath, a layer of bubble and paper, and then this piece I am planning to ship on top. Now the back of this, the actual painting sticks out. So if I were to put this on that would put a lot of pressure in the center. So I'm going to flip it around, and that way all of the weight is distributed on these parts, which is close to the edge of the frame and not centered on this, like the center of the frame. And so I'll sandwich these together. I will put another protective layer of cardboard and paper on this. Same thing with this, bubble it all together and then nest them together, and I may even tape them together as well, so that way there's no movement. And then they're going to go in the giant box that I have. So decided to tape some foam that I had. I got a bunch of this block foam. You just never know what could come in handy for shipping, and this block foam has been very, very useful, and it's lightweight. And yeah, so rather than going to the landfill, I am using it, giving it one more life in my art. So I just decided to tape it to the picture of the horse, and then these will be sandwiched together, and then I'm going to put them in a box right now. So I also have this like huge thing of bubble. So I'm going to put this down first at the bottom of this giant box, and then I'll put the two pieces of art inside here. And then I have one more small piece that was just ordered that goes to the same person. So if I have room, I may put this inside, and that kind of rounds out the box. And so I'll at least get 3 pieces in one box, and the rest of the stuff will be in a few other different boxes. Okay, so now we're going to pack up this nightmare piece. And it's actually not so bad. I just have to basically make a Frankenstein box. So I'm going to measure this, and then the height And then I'm going to search for a couple boxes that I think I can nest together to get this whole entire thing covered. And then I usually will bubble wrap and protect anything I think that needs protecting with any sort of paper. I'll probably just bubble wrap this guy within an inch of its life. And then I will put it into some boxes. Okay, so we are in my living room to pack up this behemoth. And it doesn't look very big, but it is an awkward size and I don't have a single box that it can go into. So I need to first wrap it in bubble. And then I have to use this box, this box, this box, and possibly this box to make a box that will fit this whole thing with enough room around the edges with the bubble wrap that's going to probably add this much to its size. And so while some of these boxes are like the exact perfect size this way, as soon as you add the bubble, then we're heading into it's actually too short of a box, which is a bummer. So I'm gonna have to Frankenstein some boxes together, which is pretty typical when you ship something like this. This is why I don't do a lot of these types of pieces, is because the time it takes to package this up, it could take me an hour in the end, I swear. Maybe not that long, but a long time, unfortunately. These are the tools that I use during this. Obviously, tape measure in case I need to check something before I cut it. This is a godsend for cutting down boxes. It's an electric box cutter. And then my tape, and obviously this one too, if it's an angle that this guy can't tackle. This is one of my best, most favorite tools ever. It's fantastic. So all this stuff is linked in my Amazon storefront, which I have in my description box. But if there's anything I can recommend to you guys, if you're shipping, it's this box cutter, or any box cutter, frankly. So because this area has some give, you can see it's flexible there, I'm going to put something to kind of stop that movement because I don't want these to break if there's any pressure applied in transit. And so luckily I have all this random foam, and so I'll be able to put it between here, and then that way if it something puts pressure on it, it has something to push against rather than go all the way and break. And so I'll do that for each of the rungs. Now, if you don't have something like this, you could do some paper. Like if you had a lot of packing paper, you could really pad it up. Or if you had more bubble, you could make, more of a bubble sandwich. It may be a little bit of overkill. It's only going to California, so it doesn't have a far journey. It gets there very quickly, and so the chances of it getting damaged are less. But if this was going across the country, I would definitely advise you guys to do that, to pad anywhere that could break. And this being all spindles, like all this is vulnerable. And so that's why I'm going to use this. Okay, so it's now filled with foam and ready to bubble. So the piece has been bubbled, and now I'm going to be using the Chewy box, which I have deconstructed a little bit, so that way there's a big wide opening, and I have this piece I'm going to use as the missing top. And then this is the Frankensteining part. So then I'm going to take this box, keep it intact fully, but I'm going to have this box swallow this box. So this will then, this right here will meet the top of this. So we'll squish it all together. And then I'll put this piece on top. And after that, with all the flaps and stuff, it should be securely inside a box. So I know you guys are probably going to ask me, well, what about this empty space? But once I'm kind of done securing it in, there may not be much movement around it afterwards, because once this goes in, inside, this will squeeze on this a little bit. And so I may not need to fill these holes with paper or anything. So, but you certainly can. You can fill up these boxes as much as you can. It's always, shipping supplies. Do you have enough? Because this is a huge space to fill with paper. Let me tell you. So I'm going to put this in now and then put the top on, and we'll see what we're dealing with. So here's what it looks like when this box is eating this box. And so I will tape these together. This will come down, and then I have this piece that I'm going to slot in now, like that. And then this would come over, And then all this is going to get taped up. But before I tape it up, I'm going to see how much wiggling there is inside the box to see if I need to do any shoring up inside or if this is just good enough. Okay, so I did a shake test and nothing seemed to move around. And sometimes I'll cut off these pieces because then it reduces the weight. But in this circumstance, I'm going to keep as much of the panels on because I want to make sure I have enough added protection. Like this folded over piece ends up adding a lot more protection. So that's kind of one of the helpful things about keeping the flaps on. Even though they add weight, they also can help keep the package secure. So yeah, just gonna have to now actually get it all together and taped up, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's finally assembled. So here is the Frankenstein box together. So it only required 2 boxes and then an extra piece. So not too bad. So I had to tape it with 1 inch of its life. So taping over the seams like multiple strips wide, and then taping this way as well. And making sure you're pressing down everything really well so that way it's secure. So this should do it. And when I measure it to ship, I'm going to measure the dimensions of the biggest portion of the box because remember this box ate this box, so this part is smaller. So you're going to want to make sure you're doing the largest dimensions. And when you're putting in all of the information into getting your labels, and then any of this labeling stuff, I'll just black over. This is just the stuff that was left over from when I bought my lamp. But any labels that have to do with where it's shipped to, like my address and the other person's, my neighbor's box that I use, I take all that information off. So I take my own labels off and my neighbor's information off, and then I black out any retailer or manufacturer labels that may be left on it that don't have any like identifying information. So this is a scale that I use for bigger packages. So yes, I have 2 scales. This one is great because you can see how big the base of this is. Going on top of that, and then the actual readout of the weight is removed from this. My other scale, the numbers are actually like right here. And so once you put a package over it, you have to like slide your finger in to try to lock it in order to be able to see the numbers. It's really obnoxious for big packages. So this is my go-to scale. I also travel with this scale because when I'm weighing all of my luggage, I want to make sure that it's the correct weight before I go to the airport. And I can't use one of those like hand ones. It's too hard. It's too hard. I do not have strong enough arms. So this travels with me and is great for big packages. So it's 10 pounds, 5 ounces. And because of the dimensions too, this will most likely be shipped UPS, if I had to guess, rather than the Postal Service. So I'll check when I get into my Etsy portal, but this is most likely going to go to the UPS store to ship. So I'm buying the label for the spindle stand, and I thought I would show you the difference in price between the carriers. So 108 is the cheapest that you can get at the Postal Service. The rest of them are really expensive. And then UPS, which is the carrier I will use for this, it's only $43. So that's a huge difference. Now, FedEx is going to be even cheaper than this, so probably half this, probably in the 20s. But FedEx is somewhat predatory in my opinion. Anytime I use them, even though I know my dimensions and my weight are accurate and I will have them confirmed at the FedEx drop-off point by their associate, they still will claim that what I put into this system was inaccurate, and then I will get billed very high fees. Some of my friends get hundreds of dollars in fees. So I think it's very predatory. So that's why I never use FedEx, even if it says it's, cheaper, because in the end I have to fight Etsy to get that money back. So UPS all the way, folks. So Postal Service or UPS are my go-tos. This is for everyday stuff, and this is for bigger items. Thank you guys so much for watching my shipping tutorial today. I hope you found it helpful. If there's anything that I missed or you need a little bit more explanation on anything, just let me know down below. I'm also, again, linking all the tools that I used today. These are my go-to items. So if you're looking to make packing easier for yourself, I highly recommend them. And if this is your first shipping tutorial with me, make sure you watch part 1, because that's where I really explain how I ship kind of the small decorative items that I'm shipping out really almost daily. Thanks again so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you in my next video. Take care.